You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now, and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you. Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech Podcast. I have Rubin Mejia. He's the CTO of SportsArt. The website is gosportsart.com. So, Rubin, thanks for coming. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what is SportsArt? What's the company about?
So SportsArt is a manufacturer of fitness equipment. We make treadmills, we make strength machines, we make plate-loaded machines, doctorized, basically anything that you see in a gym we make. We don't make anything like medicine balls or dumbbells or any type of accessories like that. It's more of the larger machines. And what makes us different than everybody else is that we've got a line of cardio equipment that generates electricity as you work out. So we're using that to our advantage and trying to get folks that are more sustainably minded.
So for an average gym, I don't know how many treadmills they'd have, for instance, let's say like, I don't know, 10 or something. Like at peak time, 4, 5, 6 p.m., let's say, or in the morning, how much electricity can the gym generate from all the people using the equipment?
It varies on the age of the treadmill and how well they've maintained it. But pretty much an industry average for a motorized treadmill consumption is about half a kilowatt per hour. So if you've got 10 treadmills,
it'd be funny if the gym was like, we need to work on our electricity bill. The better shape you guys get in, the lower our electricity. So they say like, the longer you go and the harder you run or jog or walk or whatever, the more electricity we make, So it'd be like a fitness type thing for them.
Yeah, funny enough, we've got customers that actually offer some of their members discounts based off of the amount of electricity that they've generated.
That makes sense. That's cool. Yeah, they should have like a calories into electricity program, an exchange program.
Yeah, no kidding. We've even done like charitable events where if you produce so many watt hours, we'll donate X amount of dollars for some charity. Like we did one event in Europe where the more watts you generated, we donated water. So we call it the Watts for Water campaign.
Wow, that's cool. Huh. So how did this idea come about?
Our founder has had this idea probably since the early 80s, but he knew at the time that the market wasn't ready. So about 10 years ago, we finally put it out in the market, and it's slowly been adapting. More recently, about the last 2 or 3 years, it's kind of been taken off a little bit more globally. So we've got anywhere from, a small boutique gym to being the only fitness manufacturer allowed to sell our cardio equipment into the sustainable city in Dubai. And I'm talking like the sustainable city is complete net zero property. Like you can't drive a car there. Everything has to be electric. They monitor, all your waste. I mean, it's pretty intensive there, but they're doing a good thing for the planet, and our equipment is the only one that doesn't consume electricity. It actually generates more than what it consumes.
Yeah. Okay. So the average user so there's different equipment. There's treadmills. There's maybe stationary bikes. There's other stuff like that. Yeah. So on average, when someone's using one of those, do they have to work out really vigorously to make it a net zero consumption, or even just casual use works?
So our equipment just casually within seconds starts generating more than what it's consuming. When it's turned on in idle, meaning not in a workout, of course it's drawing electricity just like any other device would when it's plugged in and the lights are on. But within 3 seconds on our new treadmill, you're already producing enough electricity to power all the components inside. And if you were charging like a phone, it would provide that electricity as well, plus feed back into a local grid. So you can jump on a treadmill and start running really fast, or just kind of start walking and you'll be producing electricity.
Wow. What's it like for the person that's going to use the equipment? Like, do the gyms just put it there and it sits there and people don't know? Or do you have to like shepherd the gyms along and tell them, hey, this is how you need to promote it and talk about it and all that?
It's a combination of both. More recently, we've been approached by more gyms that have some sort of sustainable practice, and they've already got that message inside their gym. Like they don't sell water bottles. They have the refillable bottle stations. They've got biodegradable cleaning products and things like that. So adding the equipment is just a complement to their sustainable message. But we also have gyms that don't really have that yet, but they want to get started. So we kind of coach them into the message. And we're not trying to tell the gyms, hey, be a commercial for SportsArt. No, not at all. We're the only ones that have this type of technology. So that publicity that comes with them is eventually going to come to us because, like I said, we're the only ones that have it. So we try to coach these gyms into developing a sustainable message, into incorporating that message into the tours for prospective members or even existing members as well. Some gyms like us to produce some sort of pop-up banner or maybe even a short video that kind of is played right in front of the equipment, just to give those members a chance to read and see whenever there's not a staff member nearby.
How do the gyms take it on? Do they do like one piece of equipment at a time and they showcase it, or do they overnight like change over a whole bunch of equipment, or is this for like new gyms?
It's for anybody based off of their situation. I would say on average what we typically do is because this is fairly new technology to them, they don't want to just replace all 20 of their treadmills. So what they'll do is they'll create some sort of green corner, and they'll say, okay, here in this green corner, we've got this equipment that actually produces electricity, and they'll kind of try it out to see how well the members react to it. And if it's successful, then they kind of roll in a couple more pieces of equipment little by little. With regards to our treadmill, it's a little bit different. It's a self-powered treadmill with slats, and it works counterintuitive to what you would think a traditional motorized treadmill works. So when you're on a traditional motorized treadmill, you press, you increase the speed, and the belt moves faster, and you're moving faster. Well, with our treadmill, you have to run faster because you've got a brake that's kind of releasing, and you're at an angle. So if you don't run faster, you have the potential to slip off and fall off the belt. So it takes a little bit of adapting just because folks haven't seen it before. But once they hear that you're not only burning calories, you're also doing something better for the environment, it's usually a bigger motivator for those types of gym members.
So interesting. Oh, can you retrofit existing treadmills and other equipment in the gym?
No. Our technology is patented, and it's all built into our equipment. In fact, you don't even have to change your standard outlets because we use your standard 3-prong outlet that you see at your house or in your office or wherever, and you just plug it in and it starts working.
That's cool. What can you say about how it works? I mean, it's patented, which is great, but like, what's the mechanism by which it generates and stores electricity, or just generates?
It's actually pretty easy. Think about a hamster wheel, right? If the hamster's on a wheel, it's moving and it's turning the wheel. Well, with us, when you pedal or when you stride or when you're running, you turn a generator, and that generator produces electricity, and then it goes into a microinverter, which actually cleans the power into a form that can be used by that circuit that it's plugged into. And by cleaning, I just mean that it can be the right voltage and the right frequency, so that other devices on that circuit or even in the building can use that electricity before the building pulls power from the public utility company.
Is there a circumstance ever where the gym will produce more power than it's consuming and sell it back to the grid, or does that not happen?
In theory, it's possible. You'd have to get a lot of people exercising, and you have to buy a lot of equipment. The sad truth is that gyms consume a lot of electricity when it comes to air conditioning and lighting and television and sound and everything else. And if they have pools, even worse. So we're never going to tell you that you're going to start putting electricity back into the grid because, because of how much those gyms consume. What we would like to tell the gyms is that, hey, we're going to help you offset your electricity costs and also provide your members a different way of working out that attracts to their social responsibilities.
Okay, so what's the anecdotal response from the gyms? Like, what are some cool examples of how certain gyms are using?
Really cool. We've got a gym in Sacramento, California, who, in combination with a solar panels and battery wall, dropped their electricity bill from $680 down to $30. We've got a
was this
9,000 square
a day or a month?
Per month.
Okay.
We
I
have
don't know how much gyms consume.
and this is a small gym too. We have an installation in New York where our gym is in a 9,000 square foot building, and it's a completely net zero property. They have windmills, they have water mills, they have solar panels, they have moss insulation. When you think the most sustainable practices, these guys have it, and our equipment is producing 5% of that total electricity that they have there in that facility. I just actually came back from an installation in St. Pete's Beach called Centrifuge, where this young lady is opening a indoor cycling studio, and that's her whole pitch. You're going to be working out, you're going to be burning calories, you're going to be burning sweat, and you're going to be producing electricity and doing things better for the environment.
That's cool. Interesting. Yeah, that's a great example. So one gym was almost able to completely cut off its electricity bill to almost nothing, to $30 a month.
Correct. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So how do people respond that go to the gym? What do they say to the gym owners or to you guys?
The folks that we've talked to responded really well. At first, they're a little confused because, when you go to the gym, you're used to your treadmill, you're used to your elliptical, and all of a sudden you've got a new console in front of you. But the functionality is the same. So all you have to show is people how to do the workouts, how to go into the pre-programmed workouts, where the controls are, and they just kind of adapt to it slowly and start working out and start doing better things for the environment.
Okay, but it's not like an alien thing, the treadmill. It's pretty easy to use, and it looks similar to most treadmills. No,
not at all. There's a few self-powered treadmills out there that have some sort of like a curve. Our treadmill, for example, has a 4-degree incline so that it helps power the generator with your body weight and gravity, but it also doesn't deter the average user. I consider myself an athlete, and when I get on some of those treadmills, I feel like a baby giraffe because I feel like I'm going to fall because I'm not stepped in the right place. And I can imagine somebody who's not athletic getting on one of those treadmills and having an even harder time. So there's no real learning curve. It's just a matter of, hey, jumping on a different machine.
Okay, that makes sense. Again, is it smart to try to retrofit existing equipment or just to do new stuff? Like, if you were able to retrofit existing equipment in an effective way, would that be a good market for you, or not really?
No, it wouldn't. Just because there's so many fitness equipment manufacturers out there, and not just the big name brands. If you were to go to any of the fitness trade shows, especially like in Europe, you'll see that there's hundreds of equipment manufacturers, from like residential down to up to the commercial grade. So we just want to, make sure that when we do something well, and we know our equipment already, because all we're doing is adding, the generator and the microinverter into our existing our existing ellipticals or cardio machines, and we're able to be more of an expert as opposed to just trying to be good at everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. So are there particular types of equipment that, work better with this arrangement versus others? Like a treadmill is the best, or what works best? If
I were to guess, I would say that the indoor cycle is probably our highest producer of electricity, just because when folks jump on an indoor cycle, they're really going at it for 30, 45 minutes, even an hour. Whereas you compare it to a treadmill, people aren't going to run as long as they would exercise on an indoor cycle. However, our treadmill also comes with the push feature. So you add a little bit more resistance, and it works kind of like the Prius regenerative braking system works, where you apply friction with the brakes, and that friction also produces electricity. So the treadmill has a potential to be our highest producer, but if you were to ask me right now, the indoor cycle is what's used most.
And then in what context does this work best? Like I would think if you had a class where someone's leading the class and they're saying, come on, everyone, let's push. And you generate a lot more electricity than just someone like hanging out on the treadmill, walking, or bicycling.
Absolutely, yeah. And in fact, in that cycling studio, the Centrifuge, they also have our software system, which is called SA Wall Plus. And SA Wall Plus shows you how much electricity that gym is producing. And one of the things that I was talking to with Emma, the owner, is that, during the class, you're going to see a number that's on the television. You can say, all right, guys, we want to hit, up to 1,100 watt hours. We've got 100 watt hours to go, and just kind of using that as a motivator so that people can get on there and just start generating as much as they can.
Okay. Very cool. I don't know, any unexpected comments you've gotten from users or unexpected ways in which this could be used?
As things go on, there's a lot of surprises because there's some very creative people out there. And it's just basically using our equipment to complement their existing practices or what they want to do. Our technology has existed for about 10 years. We're on our third iteration of it. So it works. But now people are finding different ways to incorporate it into their scenarios. So yeah, it's really, how does our equipment help complement your message?
And is the goal to make the equipment look as normal as possible, or are there some designs you've made where it looks like it highlights the electricity generation portion of it? Maybe it has like a Tesla coil or one of those lightning globes hooked to it or something.
Well, the way we differentiate our EcoPower equipment from everything else is the green siding. So we don't allow the customization of those sidings to reflect whatever the gym's colors. It has to stay green. And that, with all of our marketing material and all of our PR pushes, we're saying, green is eco-friendly. Green is green. So people are going to naturally associate that green siding to something sustainable. And on top of that, it doesn't look any different from our non-electricity producing equipment. So you can jump on our upright bike that produces electricity, and it'll feel exactly the same as our self-powered bike or as our bike that has a 16-inch touchscreen monitor on it.
Okay, excellent. So what's ahead for the next couple of years? What new things are you working on?
There's a lot of stuff that I'd like to talk about, but they don't really let me. But just think, whatever has motion can probably generate some sort of electricity, and we're trying to find the best way to develop that type of machinery. The generating power portion of it we've already got. It's just a matter of how can we fit it into, say, I don't know, pull-up machine or something. So anything that has motion could potentially turn a generator. So we're looking into different ways into doing that.
Okay, well, very good. What cities are you in? Like, where can people find the gym where they have this equipment?
We're all over the world, actually. We've got huge installations in China, Japan, Germany, Poland. In the U.S., it's just now starting to take off, but pretty much anywhere, any major city, you can pretty much find us. You want to come to Seattle, we got places here, we got places in New York, Florida, you name it. We can probably give you a location. We're even in a couple large universities as well, like Ohio State and Penn State. So, if you were just to tell me a zip code, I can probably find an installation for you.
That's great. Are there certain chains that tend to carry your stuff, or is it more independent?
It's a lot more independent with a few hotels. It's a lot harder to get into the chains just because of all the bureaucracy and the processes that they have. But pretty soon we'll be in there. I'm sure that the big chains are not going to be ignoring their members for too long, and they're gonna initiate those talks. So right now, what we're doing is we're focusing on the folks that really have an interest of bringing our equipment into the gym, and soon we'll focus on the much larger chains to bring this on a broader level.
Okay, excellent. Well, Rubin, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's a very cool idea. I think it's great.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now. and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you.